Hey, so how you motherfuckers doing, huh? Ah, you didn't see that one coming, did you? Yeah, Vin Diesel wannabe comes out swinging. All right, let's get this party started, start having some fun. So listen, a lot of people tend to underestimate me. Like, for example, right now there's got to be at least a couple of people in this audience that are thinking, yeah, you know what? He might be onto something. When he came out, I never would have imagined that this dumb fuck would actually have the balls to address the entire audience as motherfuckers. So yeah, he's right. People do underestimate him. Now, I'm trying to figure out if that's something that pisses me off or not. On the one hand, it's a bit insulting that somebody looks at me and sees somebody that's a low potential, bottom feeding underachiever. On the other hand, it does offer opportunity. For instance, back when I was 16, I was hanging out with my friends Barry and Eric, getting high, which is what one does 3 times a day when they grew up in a neighborhood where 3 guys my age who lived on my block were either the victim or a perpetrator of a homicide. So anyway, on this particular day, there was this other young kid who was 14 who was called Little Stevie. Now, I'm not really sure why he was called Little Stevie, because he was actually of average size. I'm guessing it might have been because he had another guy named Stevie in his circle who was bigger than him. See, I know this can happen because around that same age, people used to call me Big Paul. But the thing was, I wasn't really big. I was a tall, skinny pussy. But there was another kid named Paul that was smaller than me, so I was Big Paul and he was Little Paul. So sometimes when one of my friends in my group was talking about me to someone else, they would refer to me as Big Paul. This, of course, led to me getting overestimated because they'd be expecting to see somebody who was big and strong, and instead, when they met me, they just found that I was a tall wimp. Anyway, we're hanging out, having just finished smoking a joint, when little Stevie keeps repeatedly asking me if I can give him a ride back to his house, which, by the way, it was my understanding that he only lived like a block away, and also I'd never met him before. So I was insulted because I felt like he was underestimating me, thinking I was some stupid dipshit that would drive his 14-year-old ass back to his 1 block away house. So I told him, well, if he'd get in the trunk for a minute, I'd do it. And here I admit I actually overestimated him, because I couldn't imagine him being stupid enough to climb into my trunk. But to the pleasant surprise of me, Barry, and Eric, he was. There wasn't a lot for us to do on those long summer days, so this was a real hoot. My guess was he just underestimated my willingness to not keep my end of this transaction. Once he climbed in and I closed the trunk, my friend Barry, who by the way was 10 times crazier than me, asked if I'm going to really drive little Stevie home. Well, if this was a movie, we'd cut to me, Barry, and Eric exiting the drive-thru of a Burger King, laughing, having a good time, and deciding to take the car through a car wash. Now, I don't know what little Stevie was thinking when we went through it with all that water and brushes he must have been hearing from inside the trunk, but we figured he had to really be freaking out. That is, of course, assuming he hadn't passed out from the heat, because the trunk can get pretty hot on a hot summer day in South Florida after an hour or so. Well, we ended up going back to where we originally started, Eric's house, because we realized we were starting to come down and needed to smoke a new joint. So we pulled up, I opened up the trunk, and little Stevie pops his head up with blurred and confused eyes and actually asks, "Am I home?" Which, of course, I growled at him, "No, you dumbass. You're right back where we started. I hope you learned a good lesson. Now get your ass out of the trunk and get the fuck out of here." He got out of the car and started walking home. And I'd imagine at the time he was thinking, and maybe you're thinking, that what I did to little Stevie wasn't that nice. But actually, I'd like to offer a different point of view, that I, in fact, was being kind and generous to little Stevie by teaching him an important life lesson. I taught him, first of all, that you shouldn't get into anybody's trunk, especially not somebody you've never met before and is stoned. And secondly, not to underestimate me. The way I like to think of it, I'm imagining that little Stevie learned such an important life lesson that I may have saved him from getting murdered later in life. and that he probably also shared this wisdom with his own son, if he ever happened to have one. So I actually gave him generational wisdom.